Careyann, Byron, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Excited to chat with you guys today.
Thanks for having us.
So for those folks who don't know what Selden Market is, could you give us a quick synopsis of what it is?
Selden Market is a dynamic retail incubator space. It was created to be a vibrant space in downtown Norfolk, but also offer small businesses and local entrepreneurs a place to come and test out their business concepts.
Wow, that's really awesome. And so Selden Market has been around for a while, right?
Yeah, since 2017.
Okay. And so what prompted Selden Market to become a thing? Like what problem was there to solve, or how do we come to get Selden Market?
There was a lack of retail in our downtown, and we, Downtown Norfolk Council, partnered with Grow and started the Vibrant Spaces program in about 2014. And we partnered with various property owners in downtown Norfolk to offer a discounted rate to businesses, and then also offer grants for some build out to their spaces. And when that application went out, we had nearly 100 applicants for that. And about 75% of the people applied for the smallest space. That program lent us to a few different really great businesses in downtown, including Prince Inc., who is still down there thriving and actually just got their own space. They just purchased a space that they're renovating. And then also Lamia's Crepes, which is also on the 400 block of Granby. And then that spurred the concept of like, what if we took all of those other small businesses that were interested in space and created a bunch of smaller spaces in one, where we could work with low rent, low risk options, and kind of us act as the landlords for them and help encourage these businesses to get a little bit of business education, kind of grow legs, and then move on to hopefully open their own storefronts in downtown.
Yeah. So it sounds like Selden Market is there to serve that demand for really small spaces in downtown that, DNC witnessed with Vibrant Spaces. So what kind of shops is Selden Market looking for then that maybe fit that bill of potentially a vibrant space and would work for small footprint?
We are looking for any kind of retail and or food service establishment that really helps activate downtown, that has great branding, great quality products, great services, and that really helps like activate things. So, I mean, retail, even 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you could just open your business and just kind of be a retail space. And that's not how retail works these days. You have to be a lot more interactive. You have to have kind of like things for them to do or ways to engage. And so we're kind of looking for businesses that really engage with the public, that you're not just sitting there and waiting for customers to come to you, that you're really giving them an experience whenever they come in.
And so some folks have described Selden Market as kind of an incubator for those retail businesses by giving them sort of a small space, but there's more that goes into being an incubator and helping them grow. Is that right?
Correct. Part of that incubator program is, like you mentioned, it's a small space, but it's also one thing we all know is that when you are renting and you have a brick and mortar, then you have to pay rent. So we have a tiered rent structure, which provides them an opportunity to start their business, but also grow their business while they test out their concept, which is what most of the businesses have done. Some have started off as a pop-up vendor, so they start by popping up at markets, but then they matriculate into being a pop-up vendor in a space, and then they applied and they've gotten a store. But also, like you mentioned, support and mentorship. They go through classes such as the partnership we have with NSU Innovation Center, and they do an Align Series class. But Careyann was very instrumental in bringing in different workshops. So the tenants have workshops that address certain needs that they have, and we bring those to them on a monthly basis. So there's a lot of opportunities for them to not only grow their business, but also just grow their business mindset.
And the other thing is we also offer short-term leases. So if you try your business out for 6 months, a year, 2 years, and realize, hey, maybe this isn't what I'm, really want to do, or my business worked better online, or, however, you're not stuck in a multi-year lease for thousands of dollars. There's a lot less risk involved, which is why those smaller spaces in general, and the initial Vibrant Spaces concept, like they were in high demand because the smaller space, the less rent you pay, the less risk you have, But we have those shorter lease terms as well. And the other thing that's really great is that there's a community there. So it's all of these small businesses under one roof, and there's mentorship and just collaboration that flows at all times with the businesses. And so that's really special.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like Selden Market plays a really critical role in that kind of pipeline of retail businesses for downtown. So as folks are coming to outgrow Selden Market or graduate out of the incubator, what does that tend to look like? When do you know that they're ready to fly the coop, or does it come from them looking for bigger space? How does that work?
I'll start and then I'll defer to Careyann, but I've been a witness to one business growing, or two businesses actually leaving the market and growing. Studio Kumba, they're opening up a new space very soon and having a grand opening for that. And then Amali Trey, which was in the market, they've also graduated or matriculated through the program and have opened up on Monticello Avenue. So I've personally watched two businesses start in Selden and then open up businesses in downtown Norfolk. So that's great. But I know Careyann has years of experience.
Well, those are two great examples of businesses that kind of on their own said, hey, I think I'm ready to leave the market, and found their own spaces and went forth and did great things. Moving on to those. Sometimes it is a little bit of push from our end. So the average time that we allow an incubator business within the market is like a max of 3 years. We had several businesses that opened during COVID years, and we kind of gave them a little bit of extra time because we wanted them to have 3 solid years of retail under their belts. But so sometimes it is kind of okay, hey, you're pushing your 3-year mark. What are your plans? What are your goals? Let's help you get to that. And then sometimes, and more often than not, it's the business themselves that, kind of find what's next for them, and then we'll help them on their journey as they move on to what's next, and really help them kind of with that little marketing push on the way out, and helping them look at their lease for a new space. We're here along the way, not just while you're in the market.
So with Selden Market, I know community plays a big role in kind of the success of Selden, both kind of the maybe community between the business owners themselves, or the community between customers and the business owners, and then sometimes between the customers and other customers in the market there. How do you guys go to try to build those different axes of communities there in Selden Market?
One is by, of course, we're a market, so we have events. We have events that happen very often, whether they're on a bi-weekly basis or a monthly basis. We have our market events that are usually themed experiences that bring people out. But then there's also a community that is built from the actual store owners. These store owners have a great ecosystem, whether we have the same people that come every day to buy coffee, or the same people that come to get boba, or the same people that come to get a candle. Most of the times I'm realizing and watching that they don't only come for the product, they're coming for the people, and they're coming just to get out of the house and be somewhere. And Selden can be a great place for that because we are so open, and we are open space, and we have communal seating, and we have tabletops where people can come feel free to eat. We have music. It's not just a place where that's transactional, where people are coming to just buy products. They're actually coming to hang out and coming to be a part of the vibrant space that is created.
Yeah, and we are under renovations right now. They've kind of been a long time coming, but they are underway. And part of those renovations is really helping make the space itself a more comfortable space for the community to come. So, since we opened, there's free public restrooms, there's free Wi-Fi, there's all those things. There is just some communal seating, but we're making it a little bit more bright, a little bit more colorful, more comfortable seating, different little areas to kind of break off to. And really making the space flexible and able to accommodate whether that's like a small meeting that you have, or you want to cozy up in the corner with your laptop, or you want to just meet other people for events and things within the space. And our shops themselves also do their own little events as well. So boba making workshops and candle workshops.
Cooking with Green, cooking experience,
Yeah.
or spice bar. So there's a lot of opportunities for the customers and the community to actually engage with the store owners.
Cool. It sounds to me kind of like this little coral reef of activity with all kinds of different colorful things happening. Do you ever find it difficult to balance like the needs of maybe one business with another, or the different types of customer experiences for a market versus a specific vendor and that sort of thing?
As far as the navigating the needs of certain businesses, I think, yes, that's part of community. So not everybody in the community values the same thing, and not everybody needs the same thing at the same time. But I do think similar to what happens here is that's exactly what happens when your business leaves a market and it goes into the street. If you have a street-facing business, that's what happens. Or it can happen online as well, where you're now having to deal with whether it's a partnership or it's dealing with other businesses that are directly beside you related to certain things. So yes, of course, the needs are always going to be different for the people, but I do think that Selden Market provides a great space for that. Also, I think a lot of times too, Selden, we absorb a lot of the needs that the businesses don't even think about. So whether it's facilities and those things. So a lot of the issues that we actually navigate with the businesses are they're handled by us, and we can show them and we can help them get to different resolves. When we think about the customers, yes, of course, again, customers in downtown, they're going to need different things. But I think what happens with Selden is that you have a number of different things. And with the opportunity of Selden having 6 months to 3 years leases, businesses are continuously rotating. But then we have mentor businesses that really create the environment and are staples within our market. So people not only come to experience those, but then they experience different things. And sometimes people don't know they need a boba tea until they have a boba tea. So that's kind of what we create in our small corridor, whether people are traveling from the Hilton or they're coming in from one of the numerous apartments downtown, or they're city workers or taking their children to the library. All of those have different needs. But in a communal space such as Selden, you kind of get to experience those different things and then determine that, I have a need for a new Werther bag that you didn't need, but that's retail.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to take maybe a more broad look at kind of what it means to be a storefront and small business. What do you think it takes to have a great storefront? What is it? How do storefronts be engaging to those folks who are just walking by?
I love to shop, but I love experiences. So one, I'm looking for who the owner is. Are you attentive when I come into the building? Do you have things for me to touch, for me to feel, for me to smell? So senses, all of how your store is designed, your visual merchandising, all of those things really matter. How you talk to me, meaning from a marketing perspective, can I identify with your marketing? Are you sending me newsletters? Are you engaging with me via text and social? I think all of those create unique experiences. Every business is going to be different, and every customer is going to be different. However, some things like visual merchandising is like a key staple, how your store looks, the cleanliness of it, but then also the colors that you use. That's also a part of why when you agree to be a part of Selden, we sometimes have to go through rebranding, because we want to make sure that not only are you a good fit for the market, but that way you are a good business in general, whereas how you show up in Selden is then how you can show up when you're out, whether let's say Granby Street or anywhere else in downtown Norfolk. So those key elements are really what attract me.
Yeah. Visual merchandising is super, super important. Even trying to we're always encouraging our shops to switch up their product, move things around. You would be really surprised at how just moving something from one place to another will you won't have any movement on a product. You move it to a different area, and all of a sudden you'll sell out. And you really don't realize that until you test that stuff out. So, we're always encouraging that more products, new products, pushing out putting things on clearance that aren't selling. I mean, that's inventory that's just sitting on your shelves collecting dust and not bringing you any money at all. So how do you push that out? There's a lot of those things that the businesses in Selden get some firsthand experience with before they move on to something else. But then, when you are a storefront, the other thing that, if you're a standalone storefront, most street level storefronts have windows and stuff. We don't really have that at Selden. So that's always a little gap once somebody moves out of Selden. But it's things to really think about, that visual merchandising, that experience from someone walking down the street and what they see on the outside. That's their first experience with you. That's like their first impression. Are they going to walk by you, or are they going to say, oh, hey, what's this? Let me go inside and check this out. Yeah. And then once you're in there, those conversations of like, are you traveling? Are you from here? What brings you in? Blah, blah, blah. Those things are the things that make a customer feel like the person selling them stuff isn't just trying to sell them stuff. They care about them. They want to know what's going on. You're making that connection. And so I think that's important.
Yeah, it weirdly reminds me a bit of maybe TikTok or Instagram, where you have to have that hook to get them to stop. You have to have something to get them to stop in and look inside, and then you want to try to keep them with, whether it's good scents or good videos and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Byron, you mentioned a bit about, scents being a big thing in storefronts. What other kind of sensory experiences you see really working for different types of retailers across the city?
Taste. So I'll use downstairs an example. Cooking with Greens, they have a sampling station. People can walk by and taste popcorn or chips, so something to taste. One thing we always get is the pink store, which is our shop L&K. So they have a nice bright pink store. Everything is cohesive. The products, whether they're on the left or the right, like Careyann said, they seem to change, but they have a charm bar where people can actually walk and touch. And that's great for kids who are always looking to touch and feel, and they lure their parents into the store. When we think of smell, Norfolk Candle has, addition to new products every day, they have something new visually that you can walk in and see, but then you're also getting trapped by the smell. So it's colorful, it's bright, it's something new. You can see it every day. And then we have things like Lorac, which is our jewelry store, who just put out amazing content, but then they have nice bright colors in the store. It feels like it's very intentional. So making sure that your branding matches what your business is doing, but then feels very intentional, just leads to all of those 5 senses. So whether I'm listening to something, or I'm smelling something, or I'm touching something, it needs to be something that gets people, like Careyann mentioned, not only in your store, but you want to try to get them to stay in your store and then make a purchase. So converting them to, you have 6 seconds on Instagram most of the time to capture somebody's attention. But if you get them in your store, then the goal is to keep them in your store and then make sure that they can come back to your store. So building repeat customers, I think that's why the senses are always really good. Like you can catch them on one of the senses each time, and you should try to.
Yeah, I think that's so spot on, and especially like Werther, the leather shop that's downstairs, is a great example of he kind of operates a little bit more like a general just retail store. He has his bags and they're there, but you see him working, So you're actually seeing that experience. You're touching. He'll have samples of just the different materials that he's using, and the sound for him is so big. All these noises of his old equipment that's moving around and what's happening. A couple years ago, he kind of reluctantly started a TikTok, and he has killed it, blown up with that. And so much of it is that ASMR of hearing those weird little noises that he's making while he's making all these bags. And, that stuff just sticks with you more so than just scrolling, doom scrolling through social media. Whenever you're touching, you're feeling, you're smelling, you're tasting, those things mean something to you. Those things go home with you and you think about them later.
On a kind of similar note, you mentioned Cooking with Greens has got cooking classes there. Do you see other people doing those maybe more full class or deeper kind of experiential stuff?
We have charm bar experience where you can come in and make a charm. The cooking class is one, but not only does Cooking with Greens does it, we have Six Fish and Pig, which is one of our anchor tenants. They also have a cooking class and a cooking experience. Careyann mentioned earlier the boba tea workshop. We've had a stained glass experience with Virginia Goods. And one of the things we always encourage the tenants to do is do those out-of-shop experiences, which draws people to the market. But not only does it work well with the store and it provides something else to do. It's great external marketing, and I always call it's free marketing. Anytime you get to do anything in the center of the market, you're capturing people that are just walking past, that you've now tapped into one of their senses, and they're like, I wonder what that is. So they may not even stop and ask, but they might go home and do some research, and then they can come to your next class. So we do see a lot of the workshops, and then we encourage them. And we also have people that we encourage to come off of local businesses that are around, not just in Selden, to also offer those same experiences and do workshops. So we're not only trying to program, help our stores program, but we're also trying to help local businesses and other entrepreneurs have opportunities to expand and program in the market as well.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like what they're calling retail-tainment, where there's kind of not just shopping, but a whole activity, something entertaining to do or see. Is that something you are seeing pick up steam these days, or is that something that is on the way out?
I definitely think it's picking up steam. It's a mainstay. Before I started Selden Market, I was actually just a local patron, and one of the first events I remember was a game night that they did. But joining the team, I've become aware of like Velvet Witch or New Moon Market. So there's a lot of things where we program and we include entertainment, whether it's a DJ, whether it's a bar, but also just whether it's community where they're there to shop together and entertain themselves amongst their group of people. So I definitely think it's going to pick up steam, and it's continuing.
I think also like creating those experiences for people to come in and not just shop in your regular, the regular way you shop. So, you know, like a charm bar is a great example of like, yeah, sure, like, you know, you can come get a bracelet, but if it's a charm bar, you're picking out each piece, you're really a part of like what you're doing. It's now not a 2-minute decision of which piece am I picking. You now have made it a 20 to 30 minute experience because you're picking out the things. You're going to go sit down. She's going to put it on you in a certain way. It allows for a customer to spend more time with you, which also then can translate to them coming back because now there's a connection there that they've built with you as well. And being in Selden is great because they can also kind of riff off of each other a little bit and be like, you know, you might be getting your charm done and they're telling you about, oh, have you gone over and had s'mores yet? You know, you gotta go taste these s'mores after, you know. That's a really great thing with Selden Downstairs because you can, if you're working in these if you're doing these experiences, there's sometimes opportunity where things like a candle is drying and you gotta wait, you know, like you gotta wait for things. And at Selden, there's other things to experience and do during those downtimes, you know, or mom's shopping in this store, dad's bored. He doesn't just have to like sit, you know what I mean? Just sit there on a bench. Like he can find the leather shop and go bother Derek for a little bit or whatever, talk and learn about what's going on. There's something for everyone. That's nice.
Well, it sounds like Selden is, you know, at the cutting edge of retail these days and really pushing some of those boundaries. But what's the state of retail in the rest of downtown? How are things looking these days?
I think we have some opportunity to grow for sure. But, you know, one of the big goals of Selden Market is to help businesses get the experience they need and push them to downtown street level retail. So, you know, we've seen a lot of our businesses recently start moving really into downtown. And I think that, you know, really supporting Selden and helping those businesses gain the traction that they need to become a long-lasting business in downtown is super important. You know, I think that we have some opportunities. It would be nice to bring in some national brands to downtown that help kind of become anchors and stabilize the small business community for downtown, and then really help create a network. Again, you know, we talked about how having all of those small businesses in one place in Selden is really beneficial to all of them. And it would, you know, it's the same in downtown. If you only have one retail business every block or so, it's kind of like, well, why should I walk to the next block? Mm-hmm. So the more we work to recruit and retain high quality businesses, the more it benefits all of the smaller businesses because they can all work together and they can help draw traffic so that there's more to do, there's more things to go to. I think there's some opportunities there. I think there's opportunities in a lot of places in the area, to really build up our retail. But I think between the city and DNC, I think we're working on some strategies to try to get to there.
So for those entrepreneurs who might want to be coming downtown and have a storefront somewhere, what do you think are the biggest opportunities or what are the biggest challenges that they would face to get in the door and open up a storefront in downtown?
For downtown, one thing that we have is we are the urban core of the whole 757. So there is a lot of traffic that comes downtown. We have a massive amount of tourists. I know we all think of the oceanfront as a big tourist area, but we have a whole lot of tourism in our downtown as well. We have the Chrysler Museum, we have Virginia Arts Fest, we have Nauticus, we have the cruise ships, we have Town Point Park. There's so much, there's so many opportunities to reach a customer base that isn't here every day, that you can really strengthen your business by reaching out to those tourists and the visitors in downtown. We also have a very large amount of downtown workers, downtown residents, and just locals who frequent down here. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to reach a very diverse customer base, to build a customer base that is coming back on the regular with our locals, but then also to find people that maybe you could ship to or that are going to talk about your downtown and how you should travel here. And so that's really wonderful to have. And some opportunities are, again, I think that there is a need for maybe a little bit more wayfinding, ways to connect block to block. We can go to bigger cities and it's no problem walking, 5, 10, 20 blocks anywhere. And sometimes here in downtown, it's a struggle to get someone to walk a block or two, And so I think we need to work a little bit harder on how we can really connect everything down here and make it feel like a little bit more cohesive and that you want to get to the next space, what's going on, whether that's through programming or signage or whatever. Another, I think, maybe hurdle that some businesses face is the perception of parking in downtown. So we actually have tons of parking in downtown. A lot of it's in garages, but there is parking all over. I think people who are downtown all the time realize how it's not very difficult to navigate. And there also is a lot of opportunities for free or discounted parking if you talk to different business owners and stuff. At Selden Market, we offer 1 free hour of parking validation. If you park in any Norfolk garage, City of Norfolk owned garage, and you spend $10 or more at any of our businesses, you get free parking hour of parking validation. So I think there's opportunities to really think about how we can change that narrative and help customers understand that it's not really that difficult to navigate parking in downtown.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you is, do you think there's any, misperceptions about downtown or opening a business downtown that folks don't realize before they, get into it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, parking is a huge, I think, misconception from the business standpoint and a customer standpoint. If you go anywhere, parking is not actually free. So it might seem free to a customer, but someone is paying for that use of your car being parked somewhere, whether it's kind of like a business association that all of the businesses are paying into, or the developer, or the city itself. However, it's still being paid for. And so I think navigating our parking in downtown is sometimes a hurdle for some people. It's easy to just want to pull into a shopping center somewhere, but you don't get the experience of a downtown. We are a city, so yes, you got to park. I think navigating processes and procedures and opening a business is a little bit of a hurdle and a struggle for some. But if you're coming downtown, reach out to me. I'm pretty well versed in most things for opening a business. I'm happy to talk to any business who is interested in downtown and try to help you navigate those processes and procedures as best as I can with the resources that we have here at DNC and throughout the city.
Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned how maybe one of the core parts of downtown is that you get out of your car, you park your car and leave it, and you get out and walk and enjoy downtown, which I think leads us a bit to the placemaking that Downtown Norfolk Council leads up. How do you think placemaking interacts with retail, and how does it help drive that?
I think this goes back to a little bit of the those experiences that we were talking about for Selden or any business. Whenever you feel like there's stuff going on around you, when things seem vibrant, seem activated, when you are like, what's on that next block? What is that music that's there? I want to go see what that is. It encourages you to keep moving, to keep exploring. And so I think placemaking is just, it's really huge. It's really, really important. And the more we can help program and encourage those things on the outside, I think it also helps encourage businesses to continue to activate their spaces on the inside, too. It helps create that sense of community. If you're traveling, how many of us have traveled to other cities and we come back and we're like, oh, they had this killer market and they had this music playing and then you think, you're like, oh, we do that stuff too. But those are the things that excite the locals and they excite someone traveling in. So we have to make sure that we're doing things that, from morning to night, are activating our space and allowing people to meet each other, to interact in different ways. And sometimes that just means sharing music from 10 feet away from each other, sharing an experience. So.
Yeah, in addition to working downtown, I live off of Granby Street, and one of the things that I really love about Granby Street in particular is the way the businesses are very connected to the street. So whether you see them tending to their streeteries or they're outside talking to customers, since moving here, that's one of the things that I quickly gravitated to and I fell in love with is how many of the managers of different stores, whether I'm talking to the manager of Granby Theater because he's outside giving my dog a treat, whether the owners are just waving because they acknowledge that I walk past on a pretty routine schedule daily. And that level of attentiveness, I think is truly one that I love about downtown and I appreciate. So I always try to make sure that the tenants of Selden think about that the same way. It's like, how are you going to get these people back in here? And it sometimes might just be a wave or paying attention and noticing that somebody walks past your door every day at 11 o'clock. And if you can ask them why, then that'll start a relationship where they'll start waving. And I think that downtown really they've got that down packed. There's not an owner that I don't seem to engage with on Instagram or that comments when they see me walking, whether it's an ambassador through the Black by Black program or it's the owner of Kira, the vinoculture wine shop that will wave to me whether I'm in Ghent or whether I'm downtown Norfolk. And doesn't necessarily require me to come into a shop to buy something. It feels like a very genuine relationship, which then turns into me being a loyal customer because I want to see them. I want to say hello. I notice if I have not seen them or spoken to them in a few days, so I'm going to pop into their shops. And I think nearly every business on Granby Street seems to do a good job with that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think, also with placemaking and DNC in general, it's really great to see, we try to work with the small businesses that are downtown as much as we can whenever we do placemaking. So if that's, free ice cream for downtown workers or coming to member engagements or any of that kind of stuff, we're working with the businesses and trying to open up new people to experience products and services that our businesses offer. So there's also engagement in that way that helps push people to explore new things that they haven't.
Yeah, no, I really love what it sounds like you guys have described as this overlap of what it takes to make a great storefront, of the experiences and the sights and the sounds that also go into making a downtown great. Sounds like a lot of the same principles, just maybe on a bigger scale.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got one last question for you. if a philanthropist came in and gave you personally $1 million to make downtown retail bigger, better, crazier, how would you spend that to try to like boost downtown's retail in the long term? What would be your number one priority?
I would give away as much money as I could to the downtown residents and make sure that they feel seen and appreciated, and hope that they put it back into the businesses downtown. But I do think that living downtown comes with certain expenses, but also it's a type of person. So I would want to talk to those people directly, whether that is producing an event or something, but also just like literally giving away as much money as I could to hope that they invest back. Like maybe there's a downtown stimulus check, but I would love to give out a downtown stimulus check to every resident downtown.
Did they have to spend downtown?
Yes, they have to spend it downtown or in their home.
Downtown dollars, yeah.
Yeah, downtown dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I would give a very large chunk of that in grants to businesses who want to open in downtown. Mm-hmm. That could be used for build out or rent. Because I think that sometimes there's a disconnect between like just the cost of your rent, lease rates and stuff in downtown. So being able to give grants that would go to either of those to help businesses be able to open. I would also like to see some smaller grants that go towards signage, specifically kind of like more blade signage, that as you're walking through our streets of downtown, you can kind of see what's next, what's coming up, to help encourage you to continue on your journey and explore around. The other thing I would do is anyone who received grants, I would require them to work with a accountant to get their finances and stuff solid. Mm-hmm. And so some of the money going towards paying like an accounting firm or something like that, or some kind of business education, but that a component that really helps a business be able to stay here for the long haul, that there's some longevity to them. And then with any money left over, which I still think there would be a nice large chunk left over, I would put that into marketing and promotion. So really placemaking, how do we activate, how do we get the customers now to come to these businesses? And maybe some of that is some downtown dollars. Who knows? It's funny because you think $1 million, that sounds like a lot, but it goes quickly. But yeah.
Well, it's awesome. You guys have made me really excited about the future of not just Selden, but all the retail downtown and placemaking downtown. So I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thanks.